Okay, so today is my last day of recording videos. I wanted to talk about a positive thing, which is music. How much music has affected my life, um, and this might be a long one. I hope it's not too long, but I hope I don't miss anything out as well. So let's say first band I was ever into was Linkin Park. Maybe I think it was the last year of primary school I got into Linkin Park. That's when I bought Hybrid Theory. Yeah, and rock music has always been my favorite music. Actually, like my ultimate favorite music is rock music. Actually, especially metal, but it's something like recently I don't really follow so much. It kind of stays in the past. So yeah, Linkin Park, and that continued until now. Yeah, until now I've always loved them, and yeah, uh, you know what happened that that also affected me. It's scary how many musicians have. So along with Linkin Park, I also liked Evanescence, Papa Roach, so the new metal scene, 2001, that kind of thing. Then maybe, so I said before, like when I was like 13, I got an Utada Hikaru CD finally. So I got into J-pop because of iTunes. When iTunes launched, well, I don't know if it launched, but I think probably it was, the timing was there. So on iTunes they had radio stations, and they had this radio station called Japan Radio, and I thought, oh, Japan, let's try it. And they had all this like 90s J-pop, and then some of it was new, but most of it was a bit old. And so through that radio station I just learned about J-pop. Basically they had lots of different artists, like everyone who exists or existed at that time. And then I got into Utada Hikaru. I was, as I said, a massive fan of them. Huge. I've never been as big a fan of anyone as I have of Utada Hikaru. And when iPod Shuffle came out, I saved up for one, and so the first songs I had on there was Utada Hikaru's complete discography. And then 2004, 2005, I discovered K-pop. I used to just listen to clips on like SM website. It was through Utada Hikaru that I got into K-pop as well, because Utada Hikaru, J-pop, BoA, and then so mostly it was like SM entertainment artists. So I heard Domaishinki TVXQ first. I wasn't sure at first, but they eventually became one of my favorite groups. First album I downloaded illegally was BoA, Girls on Top. And the song Girls on Top became one of my favorite songs of all time. It's like my most played song of all time, though I haven't listened to it in like a year. But yeah, my most played song of all time, BoA, Girls on Top. Then K-pop was never my thing. So it's always Utada Hikaru, and then I listened to other J-pop artists like Hamasaki Ayumi, Kuraki Mai, Amuro Namie. Amuro Namie I also really, really loved, like, follows her album. But generally, because of illegal downloading, it was hard back then because internet wasn't that fast actually. So yeah, but I would just get full discographies of everyone. I think with like some people I would just do it slowly. Like I remember with Amuro Namie, I didn't get her older stuff, and actually I used to buy a lot of CDs. Like sometimes I would download it first and then I would buy it, So there was a website called Yes Asia, which was actually at that time like the biggest website where you could buy Asian music. And now it's Yes Style, so they launched that later on, but it was originally Yes Asia. So at 13, actually was I 13? But basically PayPal, you can get a PayPal account when you're 13. So I used to buy things from Yes Asia, and back then I didn't have a debit card, so you had to wait like 10 days to send the money to your PayPal account. And so I would always be just waiting to send this money to buy a CD. And then if you were short by like a penny, it wouldn't go through. And then you had to wait another 10 days. It was that kind of thing. And Yes Asia used to recommend me CDs sometimes, and I would check them out. So I got into a lot of different music because of Yes Asia. And let's see. So yeah, so there was J-pop, and then I also got into Jay Chou, who's a Taiwanese, but he's active in China now. So he's a legend, so I feel like most people know him, but I also got into him. I bought his CDs, like I bought all his CDs that existed. There's only one that I downloaded, yeah. I really got into him, and then, I don't know who comes first, but I got into this group called KAT-TUN. They're like an idol group, boys, and they used to do like really rock songs, even though they were like, yeah. Through them is when I actually got interested in studying Japanese, because even now, Johnny's, the company that they're part of is really closed off from the rest of the world, so you have to rely on other people for their stuff, and they have their own TV show, and you had to wait for subtitles and things like that. So that's when I was finally like, okay, I'll study Japanese. But anyway, then okay, let's talk about Visual Kei. So just Japanese rock music, and it's just a visual style. It's called Visual Kei, visual style. It doesn't dictate the style of music, but generally it would be like metal, heavy metal style. But not even related to iTunes or anything. My friend, my first love, he let me borrow his Dear and Grey CD. Dear and Grey are one of the biggest Visual Kei J-rock bands that exist. They still exist now, and I listened to it. I thought it was okay. I didn't get into it that much, but now I love it. But I think it was a bit too heavy for me at the time. But anyway, I got into Visual Kei, and Visual Kei became like my favorite thing. With rock music, it's much easier to tour. So Dear and Grey came to London, maybe like 2005, or maybe, yeah. And I didn't know about it. But a year later, I got into a group called The Gazette. They are still going as well. They became my favorite band ever, and their music is really great. Like, looking back, I'm like, wow, their music is really great. It's really dark, and I love stuff like that. I didn't understand back then, but yeah. And they came to London, and I saw them live. It was my first concert, I think. And then there were some other Visual Kei groups which came to London, or I was into. So like, there's one called Girugamesh. I don't know if they're still going. But Gazette, I'm going to call them Gazette, not Gazetto. Gazette, their company, their record company had like a lot of other groups that I liked, and visually everyone's really strong. So at some point I started getting magazines, and I would get the Visual Kei magazines, or I'd download them as well. Eventually I got into a group called Sadie, and they are my favourite band of all time. They do really dark, heavy metal. They have a lot of ballads as well, and I saw them live in Japan in 2010. I think I only saw them live once, and they're my ultimate favourite. At some point they said they were going on hiatus, and they haven't come back. And That's the first time I understood like the pain of being a fan. But like I still hope that they get back together. But the thing about Visual K is that so all all the members of the band, they wear a lot of makeup and they have lots of hairstyles and things like that. And because of that, you don't really know how old they are. They never reveal their age. In actual fact, they're much older than you would think. So I think now they're all in their late 40s or even 50s. One of the lead singer of Sunny, he has Instagram now, and he has his date of birth, and it's like, oh, okay, he's actually really old. So it always makes me wonder what kind of lives they have led up to that point, because yeah, Visual K usually appeals to teenage girls for some reason. It's because it's visual, but then they're really old, so yeah. Um, and I was also into this other group called Born also, and there was another group called Skull, which I really liked. So with Visual K, there's another subunit which is called Oshareke, which is like stylish style, and it tend like visual. So Visual K could be like your not typical like heavy metal looking rock, but it's I guess more gothic, and then Oshareke would be more colourful. But music sound wise, it doesn't necessarily have to be different. It can still be like really heavy. But with Oshareke, some groups have like really completely different style. They use more like keyboards, and there's kind of like J-pop. I would say it's like glittery music. It's just completely different to anything that existed. And there was this group called Ayabieru, no Ayabie. And I was a really big fan of them. They were aesthetically like so strong. And there's also a group called Mega Muscle, but I'm gonna focus on Ayabie because they were super like underground, and this story is like linked to one of my happiest moments of my life. So they were underground. Most of they had EPs. They didn't really have albums. Um, then maybe they started doing albums, but they were really underground. I thought they will never tour. I thought there's never a chance of seeing them live. And then at some point, they actually got signed to a major label, and it was so exciting. I was so happy. But they kind of changed their music style. Like they were getting like anime openings and stuff like that, but the music style had changed. I didn't really like it. You know, I thought, oh, it's a shame. Like Ayabia is over. But then it turned out the band didn't like the new style either. Um, just give you an idea of how much I like this band. Like the one of the guitarists, I had his picture as my wallpaper for years, and this was the family computer, just his face. Like I'd made it because I used to do graphics, and it was really good. And I never got sick of it. Yeah, Yumehiko was him, and he still exists now, and he has an Instagram. Um, and then so the group had a schism. So the lead singer remained with the major label, and he just became Aoi from Ayabie. And then Ayabie, the rest of the group just disappeared. So they was like, oh, okay. Then the rest of the group reformed as Ayabie. So what they did is they just changed the spelling, because originally they wrote their name in kanji, but it was kind of like, it looks like this, but you say it like this. And then when they rebranded, they wrote it in Roman characters. Okay, so it was different. And they made a new group. And then they were going to have a concert. We didn't know what their songs were. And the timing of this is when I was studying abroad. So I happened to be in Tokyo. And I was able to see them live. And we didn't know who the lead singer was going to be. And then it was Yumehito. It was just, oh, it was the best. Like, and it was like similar to their old sound. It was so great. And then like I think they released the album after that. It's, oh, and also the live house that they had chosen for their performance was in Takadanobaba, and this is like a really awesome live house. And I'd been there before for my first ever concert in Japan when I was on my working holiday, and I went to like this event where they had like 6 groups. It's just, yeah, it was so great. Because of like with Visual K, there's just so many groups, and then some of them go on hiatus, but some of them just continue like for a really long time, and it can be hard to keep up. And then also there's lots of different sounds, so some things you might like and some things you might not like. And so I haven't really been keeping up with it at all. Like sometimes when I feel really sad, I'll be like, okay, you haven't listened to rock music in this amount of time, this is why. I haven't listened to Sadie in this amount of time. Yeah, gosh. So yeah, Sadie was my ultimate group, but I didn't keep up that much. It was only like this year that I started looking for people on Instagram and they actually existed and they're still going and stuff. Yeah. So I didn't get into K-pop really until maybe 2012, but maybe 2007 I got into Seven. Oh wait, go back. So in J-pop there's this group called M-Flow, and they did lots of collaborations with other artists. And then they did a collaboration with an artist called Wisung, who's a Korean artist. It was the first time they did a collaboration with a Korean artist, and he is a like R&B singer. So back in those days, I think K-pop was not like K-pop. They had like different categories, I think. So Wisung was like R&B singer, and he has an amazing voice. Right, I never heard a voice like his. So in this song that they did, when I first heard his voice, I was like, wow. And actually that was the first time I heard Korean. So this was like 2004, I think. So he's the reason I got into K-pop. And also he was some of the first albums that I had to find. It was harder to find his albums, but yeah, that was it. So I was also a huge fan of Wisung. And then through Wisung, because Wisung was on YG Entertainment. Back in the day, YG was so different as a company. So Wisung did a collaboration with Seven, and I got into Seven, and he was really big back then, but he's just disappeared now. So Seven was like the artist who I like proper bought his albums, and he never toured. No one was touring the world back then, but he was active in Japan, so he had like some Japanese concerts, and I bought his concerts and everything, and yeah, I was a huge fan of Seven. And then Seven did some collaborations with D-Dragon and Taeyang, but this was before Big Bang. So actually this is like 2006. So I was a big fan of those two rappers, and I anticipated Big Bang. So when Big Bang debuted, I loved them. So Big Bang became my favourite group. But this is like from the debut. Their first single is so good, right? So yeah, just Big Bang and Big Bang. Then there was a group there was like a big debut of different groups, including SHINee, and there was a group called Beast. And I don't have to go into the history of Beast, but I became like, Beast was the first group that I like stand, I suppose. I don't know why I didn't stand Big Bang like I stand Beast, but Beast the first band I stand. And then I managed to see them in Japan because they did like debut showcase. Again, super lucky to get that. And there was a high touch event. You got to slap their hand, not really like, they just hold it and you just go like that. And I blacked out. Like, I don't even remember, but yeah, gosh. Then let's see. Followed Beast for a while, but yeah, it's still J-pop. K-pop was not my main thing. But in 2012, let's see, that's when Gangnam Style came out, right? And also Big Bang's Fantastic Baby came out that year, I think. So that's when it was more of a worldwide thing. And also 21, I Am the Best, I think, like, then. So, and also that was when I was working, and at my company, our shop, we would like play K-pop when there were no customers, sort of thing. Yeah. Um, so yeah. And then this all goes like year by year, year by year. I so at that time, yeah, I was listening to a lot of different music. I'm still following J Chow. When it comes to English music, um, I would keep up with maybe. I've never really been a fan of pop, like American or British pop so much. I just stuff that was played on the radio was okay back then. Um, I just kept up with whoever was popular generally, and I would keep up like albums that I would download. Like I missed out Eminem. So before Linkin Park there was Eminem, but that was a normal thing. Um, so I kept up with just hip hop, so like Kanye West and stuff. I kept up with that, and I think like The Weeknd or whatever. And then let's see. So when BTS debuted, no, before BTS there was BAP. Okay. So BAP, I think they had the best debut of all time. Warrior was amazing. I think BTS, not BTS, BAP. I always say BAP walked so you could run, that kind of thing. Because after BAP, so BAP's concept was like hip hop boy band, and before that, I mean, some groups had kind of touched on it, but BAP was the first group to actually go like 100% with that, because but Big Bang were like that, but it was different. Okay, like aesthetically it was different. And then after BAP debuted, there were other groups including BTS and Monsta X, and so they kind of also followed that hip hop thing. So when BTS debuted, I heard their debut song and I thought, oh, it's okay. But back then I used to just download anything that was new. I had like a huge collection of just illegal music, and even if I didn't like it, I would just keep it. But with BTS, they had this song "We Are Bulletproof," right? And I thought, this is amazing. It was like the same level, even though it was K-pop. To me, it was the same level as Kanye West and Jay-Z in Paris. I just thought it was like, it just went so hard. So I got into BTS, but I never would call myself an ARMY, because back then I used to think that if you are in a fan club, you have to actually be a member, like paying member. So I would never call myself anything related to any group. Yeah. Then, so there was a lot of groups that I liked generally. That's when I started to listen to K-pop much, much more. So it's like a blank, but over the years, after Beast kind of disbanded, I didn't follow Highlight so much, and I was really sad about that, because at the time they said they couldn't perform their Beast songs anymore. I mean, it just worked out now, but at the time it was really sad. I thought for girl groups, I liked 4 Minute and Red Velvet still, and it was hard for me to get into the new girl groups that exist, but I like them now. I'm just gonna fast forward to now. So when I saw, I didn't go on concerts. So in my year abroad, 2016-17, I really got into Korean hip hop. I always liked it anyway because of groups like Epic High, and then I used to watch the show Show Me the Money, right? But maybe that year I got into it more, and then also 2018 I got into it more because Spotify. But before Spotify, I used to use Melon Music, and Melon Music used to have these playlists that people would make, and some of it was K-hip hop or things like that. So I got into Korean hip hop more, and I kind of moved away from K-pop a bit, but I wanted to find a group to really get into because I just wanted someone to follow. I was aware of everyone, so I went through every group, like alphabetically, watch their videos, listen to some of their songs, and from that I chose Monsta X. So I only became a fan of Monsta X in 2018, and they happened to be doing a concert that year, so I managed to become a huge fan of them by then. But it took me 6 months to choose my favorite member. But until now, Monsta X are my favorite group, and I joined their fan club officially. Like, and in Japan they also have a different fan club, so I joined that as well. And I think they're just the best. They're really great. I love them so much. They being part, even though I've always been kind of unhappy, I didn't know that being part of a fandom was like so supportive. It's like you always have things to look forward to, and now with the different generations of K-pop, it's so accessible. Like you feel like you know them, which is maybe it's creepy, and you can see them whenever you want, and you realize like these people's faces, you've seen them so many times. You know, if you saw them from the back in the street, you would recognize them. That kind of thing. It's quite nice madness. So Monsta X are my favorite K-pop group, but my ultimate favorite musician artists of all time are these two guys called Suicide Boys. I got into them again when I was studying abroad, 2016-17. I used to listen to like the YouTube music channels like Trap City, Rap City, that kind of thing. Trap Nation, Rap Nation. So they had different artists like Night Level and Suicide Boys on there, and then I kind of got addicted to it, and I was like, no, this is really good. So back before Spotify, there was SoundCloud. So because I couldn't listen to them on Melon Music, so I had to use Melon and SoundCloud together to like get my fix of music. My phone overheated again. I think this is a really good phone for making videos, but I don't know how it's gonna work with overheating all the time. So yeah, I guess I'll try and finish. But there's more things that I didn't talk about. I just want to talk about something that I like. So Suicide Boys. Yeah. So Suicide Boys are like, it's two guys, they're rappers and kind of a singer. They make like, is it trap? It's really good. The music is really good. Their whole thing is like, so the reason I like them is because they are coming from a place of having been suicidal, kind of thing. So it's, I guess it's easy to relate, but maybe I don't really relate to their songs because situations which is like things to do with drugs and maybe really graphic or dark stuff. But their sound is amazing, and so every year since I've been listening to them, they're always my most played artist of the year. I really like them, and I don't feel like I'm expressing how much I do really like them. But yeah, it's nice to have music. Generally I like music which comes from a place where people have experienced true sadness, depression, suicidal thoughts, that kind of thing. There's lots of artists like that now, and I was able to see Suicide Boys live actually in London in my last year of university. Again, like something I thought would never happen. Something I realized is that, like, you know, usually when you go to a concert, even though I've never been able to make friends, maybe only once, people there is kind of, I like you know, they're like, these are my people, you know. But with Suicide Boys, these people weren't my people. I knew that, like, these are not my people. I remember they had a moment where they shouted out to the crowd, like, put your hands up if you ever felt like, what was it? like you felt like I don't remember the word they used, but it was like someone who, I think it was like, you ever felt like a fuck up, you felt like you were like a loser, or you know, I was in my imagination it was like that person in the family who would never amount to anything, that kind of thing. And I remember being there, and I remember thinking, I don't, like, it's like I was like, oh, I go to university, I'm trying, you know. I felt like I've never felt like that actually. Like I've always, oh, it's like, it was kind of people who never had a dream, and because I was like, well, I've always had a dream, so I'm not like this, so that kind of thing. Yeah. So I thought, man, these aren't my people. The thing of, like, you know how some people, you have, just because of your ethnicity, you have parents who push you to be something, you know, like you can never be unemployed. If you are unemployed, you feel horrible, you know, you feel ashamed, that kind of thing. And then, and you would never take drugs. That's the whole thing. You would never take drugs. um, yeah. So yeah, I love Suicide Post, but I feel like their fans are not my people. um, but yeah, there's a lot of, they're the only group that I listen to who relate to like real world stuff going on. Um, yeah. So I want to go back. So when I was like getting into um, pop music, J-pop and K-pop and stuff, I used to dance. I used to dance a lot. Excuse me. And I used to dance in my living room, and then I loved dancing so much that I would, in the night, I'd go into the kitchen and dance. And the reason I would do it in the kitchen is because in the living room, like the floorboards would be kind of creaky, so in the night maybe I would be heard. But in the kitchen, it was just like stone underneath the flooring, so you can make as much banging as, you know, as you wanted. And I used to go in there and dance, like, so in the early morning I wouldn't be up watching TV or something. Maybe I would have been watching TV, and then I'd leave the TV on and I'd go and dance, or that kind of thing, and just dance in the dark. And this is a fantasy, this is a secret that I've never told anyone in my life ever. But I had like this fantasy that I was part of a dance crew, and we would do concerts in the shopping centre. And so we would do all these like, we would bring Asian culture to London, and I was the main one, and we would like mime everything. Or maybe we'd be singing it, but we would be singing it perfectly in the voices of each singer. And I had like dance routines that I had choreographed for various songs, and there was also, sometimes I would learn the dance routines, so particularly for K-pop. So before I even downloaded the albums, I would download music video clips. So with Boa, I downloaded like My Name and other songs that she did, and I'd learn the dance routines for those songs. So yeah, I did that while I lived at home for a while, and then I would also, I think I've always done this. So when I listen to music, I would fantasize about things, and then I kind of started imagining, like, what if I had a group of friends? This is really embarrassing. Like, this is my biggest secret, and this is part of the reason that I feel like my life hasn't been what I wanted it to be, because I never achieved this. But like, what if I had a group of friends who I could sing with, you know, and we know we were into all the same music, and we would sing together, and like, you're just traveling on the train or the bus and you'd just be singing, you know. This is a fantasy which I have never dropped. Like, to this day I still think like that. It's like, what if you were just singing together? Every time I'm listening to a song, I imagine singing it with someone. I've never achieved that, but ironically and really sadly, like, in the past few years, I have met like two people who I've been able to sing with, and it makes me really sad that I'm not able to continue that. And it's really interesting where they're from specifically, because I feel like I just live in the wrong country, and I've chosen the wrong country. So if I'd known, you don't really learn about people's personalities based on country, especially specific things like, do you like singing in public? Like, but yeah, it's really sad that I've met those people. But anyway, yeah, I love with music so much, and it's part of the reason I've been able to enjoy life. And I haven't mentioned everyone, but yeah, I just wanted to talk about something that I enjoy. I've made videos which I haven't published because I thought they were kind of not good. And I also wanted to talk about like fashion and why I like fashion so much, but I think it's not really necessary. So yeah, just music. That is fine. Okay.